Not a great performance. Lazio needed to win against Galatasaray at home, and it was a draw. Even not a great performance. We didn't see what we were hoping to see. Alistair McKenzie, hello, how are you? Um, we was hoping like to see a Lazio win, even if even losing didn't change that much. A draw lost yesterday didn't change that much. So, a little bit disappointed by the performance of our team. Anyway, we passed the group phase of Europa League, which I think is the first objective of the year that we achieve, but not the performance we were hoping for, especially after Sunday against Sampdoria. Lazio played much better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, especially in an attacking sense, if you see the way that Lazio attacked Sampdoria in the first half of that match and just completely blew them away that quickly, it just goes to show again how unpredictable this Lazio team is this season. The fact that they're capable of such kind of wildly differing performances in both an attacking sense and a defensive sense from one game to the next. I mean, very, very blunt yesterday. I thought Zaccagni was the brightest of them all. I think we'll get onto that, but I don't know. I mean, something that's a friend of mine said, which I wanted to put back to you, is: do you think there was a sense of storing energy for Sassuolo? Do you think it was actually just a case of, well, we're already through, let's just get through this and keep a bit of energy in the bank? Do you think they weren't that bothered about winning the group?
I honestly hope not, because otherwise, I mean, uh, this was a much more important match than the Sassuolo one, right? We already talked about it. We needed to win. Let's not forget, because now next Monday we're gonna pick a team relegated from the Champions League. There's Barcelona, Borussia Dortmund, Sevilla. There are a lot of good teams. So Lazio desperately needed to win to avoid one of these teams and try to go as further as possible in the competition. So if this is the reason why, then guys, you completely got it wrong. Um, One of the things most disappointed, Alistair, was we were so slow moving the ball, so slow, and this made the job so easy for Galatasaray. And let's be honest, everybody expected Galatasaray to come in and put the bus in front of the goal, right? They with the draw, they finish on top. So it was no surprise to see a very defending minded team from Galatasaray. So Lazio, I don't know. I'm really disappointed because this was so important match for us.
And it wasn't just that, it wasn't just that Lazio played poorly. It was that Lazio failed to have any shots on target until I think it was the 88th minute.
Yeah.
And even that was a Zaccagni header, which was pretty easy for Muslera. I mean, Muslera, like I said last night, he was the only thing he really had to deal with all night was getting booed by the crowd. I mean, that was the hardest thing for him to deal with all night, because the accuracy of Lazio was
No.
pretty poor, and by that I don't just mean the shooting. Actually, I think just generally the accuracy of everything they were kind of trying to deliver was
Yeah.
pretty off. The passing, I think, like you say, there was a problem with tempo perhaps, but also it felt like moves were breaking down quite regularly just because one pass in the midfield wasn't finding its mark, or there was a poor piece of control or whatever. It just felt like all a little bit disconnected last night. Felt a little bit like the way we've seen Lazio play after European games rather than during European
Yeah.
games.
Do you think that's an upgrade? I'm not sure about that. But yeah, I thought Alistair yesterday, Milinkovic Savic made so many mistakes. And not only, we talked about Milinkovic Savic tried to score pretty goals, etc. But yesterday he missed a lot of easy passes in midfield that helped definitely Galatasaray defending. So terrible performance by him. Do you think that Leva starting slowed down Lazio movements, Lazio moving around, moving the ball, or it's not Leva's fault this time?
No, I don't think it's Leva's fault, but I think perhaps it's that kind of combination of Leva and Husai on the right, not really, who doesn't really push on as much as Latsuri, for example, and Milinkovic Savic has been playing a hell of a lot of games recently. I'm not sure. I think perhaps just whatever the combination that was put out on the pitch was probably more of the problem. I mean, Lucas was the only change to the team we saw on Sunday, so I can see why you asked the question. But at the same time, maybe that in itself is the answer to the question: is that if you've got this, 10 of the same players who have just been playing a Serie A match 4 days before, and we've got this ridiculously relentless run of fixtures at the moment, perhaps Sarri did need to be a bit bolder and make a bit more rotation. Perhaps he needed to make the changes he made a bit sooner because, again, I don't think we saw much in that first half to suggest that Lazio were onto a winner. And yet it took a while. It took until about an hour in, I think, before Alberto Lazzari came on, and I think and Felipe Anderson. I think Lazzari did make a difference. He's the kind of player who comes on and just injects a bit of energy. He's always going to do that. And again, not totally accurate with everything he was trying to do, but it gave us a little bit of spark. But you're right. I mean, it's rare you get an opportunity like this to actually just, it doesn't matter. The pressure's off. You can actually throw everything at a team to try and win a game because there's no downside. If you lose, but it's not going to make a difference. So it's actually a free shot to just go and try and dominate them and win the game. And they just, they weren't playing like a team that had that attitude.
Yeah, one thing I was surprised to see the second half starting with the same 11. I was surprised. I was hoping and imagining that Sarri would have made some change, but seeing nobody wing up in the half, I thought, well, maybe he's not going to make changes immediately. Lazzari, as usual, when he comes in, he gives that spark. And I don't understand why, in a match where we needed to win, you play both Marusic and Isai. Marusic is so afraid of doing anything, and it drives me crazy. The other thing we have to point out, Luis Alberto didn't start. Sarri said it after the match. He had a little injury, so he didn't want to risk him. So that's why probably Basic started again yesterday. But, I mean, the only shot on target was a header of Zaccagni, 88th minute. That's simply unacceptable. In a match, you have to win.
And Ciro, who was our main talking point ahead of this game, was whether or not his injury is going to be a problem. And he plays 90 minutes. So,
yeah.
Do you think he looked fully fit? I mean, it was quite a bad miss at the end of the first half from him.
Yeah.
I feel like he wasn't. I don't know. I felt like he wasn't stretching the defense as much as he usually does. His game is so much about running, and I don't think we really saw as much of that. But to be fair, Galatasaray were pretty well organized. They've got a good defensive record as well. They were kind of moving between a back four and a back five throughout the game as well. It's quite impressive. They were well drilled, so it's not. It's not a disastrous result, I think, is what I want to say, because I've seen quite a lot of quite heavy negativity after this match. And I mean, guys, Lazio are through, comfortably through with a game to spare. Would have preferred to win the group, clearly, but having played 6 and lost only one of those games, it's not a bad record. It's not an easy group either. I mean, none of the groups in the Europa League are as easy this year as they have been previously, really, because they've compressed it into 8 groups. So I'm not sure I would be completely in despair about this in the way that some people seem to be. I don't know, maybe you are.
Yeah, I'm not very happy. I'm not very happy because, yes, Lazio lost only one match, but won only against Lokomotiv. We weren't able to beat Marseille or Galatasaray. And let's not forget that this Galatasaray is 7th in the Turkish league, which is not the Premier League. So, I thought we could do much better. I thought, again, yesterday was probably the first final of the season, and I didn't see them playing like it was a final. Um, Zaccagni, the best player, I think. I think we can agree on that. Um, but yeah, apart from that, I didn't see the other players performing as expected. Galatasaray, very well organized team, especially when they had to defend. Um, I thought we didn't have a plan because, as you were mentioning, uh, Chiro was stretching the defense, but that was it. The only plan we had in the first half was uh, kicking the ball and hoping that Chiro could dribble past to defender and score, which obviously in a day where Chiro is not 100% fit was pretty hard. Milinkovic Savic didn't do nothing. I was hoping a little bit more from Basic, but I don't think Basic played that bad. I thought Milinkovic was far worse than him.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Basic also frustrated me a couple of times with his passing as well, and
Yeah.
just things not quite coming together. Essentially, is what it is. I mean, the other thing to mention here as well is that there's this remarkable kind of disparity between the defensive record in Serie A and in Europe, because Lazio have kept 4 clean sheets in 6 games in Europe now, 3 in a row, which is the first time in 9 years Lazio have had 3 clean sheets in a row in Europe. That's not something to be sniffed at. And I want to get your take on this. Sarri after the match was basically asked about this and said, I basically don't have an explanation. I cannot work out why this is happening. Maybe it's because it's a well-balanced group, so the team are more focused in these matches, but I don't really know. And I have to say, on the back of what we were talking about a few days ago, I think we do know it, and his name's Thomas Strakosha. Probably. Is it that simple? Is it like Lazio have a better defensive record in Europe because Strakosha's been the goalkeeper in Europe?
Well, probably that's part of the reason. Honestly, I was a little bit surprised to see Strakosha starting yesterday, and I want to ask you: do you think this is it? Will Strakosha now be the starting goalkeeper both in Europe and in Serie A? And yesterday, well, I didn't know this because from the curva you couldn't see it, but they hit the post on the corner kick directly, right?
Yeah.
And that was pretty much the most dangerous chance they had. But yeah, apart from that, they didn't create that much. I think Strakosha is a very good goalkeeper. Definitely better than the Reina stopping shots. Yesterday he wasn't really busy though, right? I don't think he made a huge impact yesterday.
No. Yes, I don't think yesterday makes makes a big claim for Strakosha to be the number one, because he had basically nothing to do. But the importance of it is more the fact that he's actually been picked in consecutive games now for the first time this season. And obviously, as we have already spoken about earlier this week, it's the fact that he was actually finally picked for a Serie A match and made 3 important saves in that game. So the way I see it, I think it would be really harsh to drop him now for Sassuolo, because you need to have a reason to. I think at this stage, if you've played him for 2 games in a row, the first game he's made 3 excellent saves and really stood up to the challenge of being put back in the team. And the second game, okay, not had a lot to do, but he still kept a clean sheet. That's what you want from your goalkeeper, from your defense. I don't think you really have an argument to restore a guy who's conceded 8 goals in his last 2 games at this stage.
Honestly, I don't think so, but there hasn't been an official statement, right? Sarri didn't mention the goalkeeper situation at all. Tari spoke about that before the starting of a match, saying Strakosha has been here for 10 years. He's a very important goalkeeper for us, blah, blah, blah. But didn't say, yeah, we're going to renew his contract. He's a starting goalkeeper or nothing at all. Because let's not forget that his contract is expiring in 6 months. And no news about renewing contract, right? So, again, this is a big question mark, because what's going to happen? What's happening if Strakosha, let's say in February, sign a contract with another team, will he be starting still till the end of the season, or because he signed with another team, he's out and Reina will start again?
And it's also the timing of this puts Strakosha in a bit of a difficult situation, I would say, as well, because he must have at the start of this season, surely it's only human nature that he would have started thinking, well, what am I going to do next year? Where am I going to be? What kind of team should I be looking for? Do I want a new challenge overseas? Do I want to try and find a team in Serie A? Blah, blah, blah. Because if you're being overlooked by one coach and then a new guy comes in and he continues to, then your contract's expiring and you're not being given a new one, then you're going to start looking elsewhere. So now he's finally been given the possibility of staying. But is that going to be enough for him? I mean, I think this works both ways. It's quite easy to see it prism of Lazio needing to tie him down in situation. But they're also perhaps going to have to actually convince him to, because is he going to want to commit, say, to a 3 or 4 year contract if out of the blue he went from playing 45 games a season to being a reserve?
Well, I think without Inzaghi, things have changed. So I think the main reason he lost his job was Simone Inzaghi. And at the beginning of the season, obviously, I think I got the impression that Sarri trusted his men. And Reina, let's not forget, was managed by Sarri at Napoli, like his eye. So I think he started Reina, for that reason. But, going forward, he realized, okay, maybe it's better if Strakosha starts. So I think they're probably building a relationship. So if Inzaghi would have stayed, I would have told you now, no, Strakosha is not renewing his contract. And let's not forget, first interview at Oronzo, the first guys talking was Strakosha, saying that how things now are better, how the new manager is great, etc., etc. You can really feel that the relationship between Inzaghi and Strakosha broke up. And, again, I didn't understand why Strakosha lost his job, because he pretty much didn't do nothing wrong. He simply got COVID and never came back. So, but talking about Strakosha and renewing contract, there's Marusic in that situation. There's Luis Felipe in that situation. It's not the only player in that situation. So, and seeing the performance of Luis Felipe yesterday, and Marusic as well, I'm not convinced that the mindset is there.
Yeah, I mean, Luis Felipe as well is what has been one of the many, I have to say, players went with Milan now for January, obviously there for a new centre-back now that Kjaer's been injured, and there's been a lot of talk about that. There's been a lot of talk about him joining Inter, like everyone else with Inzaghi, and I think that it's easy to just dismiss this stuff because there's so much all the time. But I think as a player, maybe it does filter into your mind a little bit. And I think that would be a big blow for Lazio. Felipe at that age and kind of finding a good run of games, and he's thankfully managed to stay fit quite a lot this season so far as well. So it would be a real shame to lose him for free so soon after. That's not quite as serious as that one was, but yeah, I think for Lazio to and in the COVID climate, it's important to be making as much money as possible. And one easy way to avoid that seems to be that you don't lose some of your best players for free, which they're at risk of at the moment.
Alistair, can I ask you something? I'm a little bit disappointed because every single Lazio player has been linked to Inter except us two. So I mean, I was a little bit disappointed. And maybe tomorrow Corriere Sport, Campanile link with Inter. Lazzari, Luis Felipe, Acerbi, everybody, every single Lazio player has been linked with Inter except us. Well, we're not players, but we're very into the club. I mean, even the Luis Felipe rumors to Milan 2 days ago, it was written that if Milan doesn't go through the Champions League, they will have the money to buy Luis Felipe. So I think that's pretty much over. But I wouldn't be surprised next week Gazzetta dello Sport come back and say Luis Felipe to Inter this winter. But what I wanted to say is I didn't see Luis Felipe as focused as I was hoping for. Yesterday he get a stupid yellow card, and it's not the first one this season.
No.
He's a great talent, don't get me wrong, but the mind is the key. If you're not focused in that single match, then your performance won't be as great as they could be. And so I think Sarri and Iglitare has to check who want to stay and who doesn't. And then from there start making the transfer market or the plan for the future.
Yeah, I think there's just too many ups and downs with Luis Felipe, which is kind of like a lot of the players in this squad, like Lazio have been in general this season. You know, he almost kind of sums up the team really in the way that he ebbs and flows. I still do believe in. I think he's got a lot of talent, but
Yeah,
just whether it's fitness or whether it's consistency or just stupid stuff. It's hard to say. I mean, it was him who kind of saved us that goal when Galatasaray hit the post by getting up very quickly to head that off the line. So it wasn't all a disaster yesterday. Now here we have Fried Chicken saying he would trade Luis Felipe for me. I'm
not
not
sure
about
about that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have to say that last year as well, when there are a lot of people saying, Lazio should sign Romagnoli, I think he's very overrated. Like a lot of players playing for Milan and Inter, they are very overrated. I'm not saying he's bad. Obviously, if you're telling me, hey, would you start Patrick or Romagnoli? That's not a discussion. But would you put Romagnoli as your starter instead of Luis Felipe or Acerbi? I'm not sure about that. On the other side, Alistair, yesterday, 2 days ago, came out a rumor saying that, not a rumor, Pedullah said there have been rumors of Luis Felipe, as you mentioned, linked to Inter, and it looks like Inter doesn't rate Luis Felipe that much. They said, well, Luis Felipe is not a player who could start. We have De Vrij, Skriniar, and Bastoni. We think they're better than Luis Felipe. So this is our valuation. Do you agree with that? Do you think that Luis Felipe wouldn't be a starter in Inter?
No, he wouldn't. Of course he wouldn't. Who's he going to get in ahead of those three? I mean, that was by far the best defense in Italy last season, and I think the problem is as well, Inzaghi never really knew exactly where to put him in his back three, because to begin with, it seemed like he was the kind of alternative to De Vrij or to Acerbi as the central defender in the back three, and I always thought his best position there. But there was never really space for him there, and so he was played on the right a lot. But again, there was, he's, I don't know, a bit of inconsistency. And I think that the system is a big thing when it comes to centre backs. You know, it shouldn't be overlooked. You can't just trade them in and out. And that's for me the Romagnoli thing. Going back to that for a second is the same idea. I mean, I'm not convinced about Romagnoli just in a back four under Sarri playing with a high line. His lack of pace would be badly exposed. His in one-on-one situations would be more exposed. Whereas if we were still playing under Inzaghi, I might have said yes, because I'd have probably been happier with Romagnoli in the centre of a back three. But I think it does make a big difference.
Talking about defenders, did you see what Denis Vavro said?
Yes.
So basically, Vavro said that physically he's ready, but mentally not, because he hasn't given a chance. Last match he played was in the Euros. He definitely wants to leave in January, and that he stayed here just because of financial reason. Honestly, I don't understand why he doesn't get a chance, and Patrick does. But do you think he's going to leave in January? And what do you make about these quotes from Denis Vavro?
Well, yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, it doesn't sound like the voice of a man who's exactly staying to fight for his place. And who can blame him really at this point? So, it's been pretty clear for a long time now that he doesn't really have a role to play in this Lazio side. I mean, he has, at least been getting called up into the squad every now and then this season, but
when someone is missing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
it looks like me like it looks like me like a five-a-side team. Oh, Thursday we're playing. We are 9. Okay, let's call Vavro. So we are 10, right? And when someone is missing, yeah, I have a friend.
Yeah. Yeah, I know this Slovakian guy who's never got anything to do.
And then they ask you, how is it? Well, he can play.
Yeah, stick him up front. He's a big man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, what I don't know. I mean, if Vavro goes, like, what can you realistically expect, like money wise, to get for him? I mean, I don't think you can expect much. And if that's the case, if you consider how recently he was signed and the fact that he was Lazio's most expensive defender since Mihailovic, would this go down as Tari's worst piece of business, would you say? I mean, we can discuss that closer to the time. We have more time to actually think about it, but surely up there.
Top 3, I would say, right? But the thing is, he mentioned that he's been talking with the League 2 Spanish club, so second division, which is not great, and said that basically he's going to be alone with option to buy him at the end of the season. So no money coming, which is disappointing. And this brings me to another question. We were fighting to win yesterday, 0-0. We couldn't shot on target, and 2 players were warming up. Raul Moro and Akpa Pro. No sign of Murishi, who is your number 9. Again, he could be your option, right? You need to score. Why Akpa Pro warms up and not your second striker?
Yeah, I was actually surprised he wasn't considered yesterday because, mentioned before the game about the fact that he used to play for Fenerbahce. He might have a bit of a point to prove to all his Turkish fans. He's obviously incredibly popular still with the Fenerbahce supporters. Would have loved that chance to go and make his mark against Galatasaray. And I don't know, again, it's a free hit, that match. It's a free opportunity. So you can take a bit of that pressure off him. He's come out publicly and said he feels dead mentally recently. So, I mean, to give him that the kind of freedom of expectation in a way, to chuck him on a game like that and just say, look, we need a goal, give it everything you've got. And perhaps, even send some crosses into the box and see what happens for a change. So, yeah, feels like a little bit of a missed opportunity. Should we go through the potential teams we might face?
Well, Sarri said, do you want to mention the teams before?
Yeah, okay. So, I'll quickly explain it in case anybody hasn't got it, because they have changed the format this year. But basically what Lazio are in now is called the knockout round playoffs, which is quite confusing. But the reason they've called it that is because it's not the last 32, because there's only 16 teams in it. But anyway, it essentially is the last 32 round. But anyway, it's between the 8 runners-up of the Europa League and the 8 third-place teams from the Champions League. But you can't play a team from your own country. So Atalanta, for example, are a third-place Champions League team, but Lazio can't draw them. So we've got Leipzig, Porto, Dortmund, Sheriff, Sevilla, Zenit, and Barcelona, who, as you were about to say, Sarri wants.
Yeah. Can I say something? I know a lot of fans won't agree with me, but I don't want to take Sheriff because I think the team will underestimate them and think, we are favorite, etc. And we will be hammered. Like, I can see playing away, losing 3-0 to Sheriff. I can see it happen. And then, at the Olympico, we can make it. Well, we go 2-0. And then the last 5 minutes, they score and we are out. So please, no Sheriff.
And did Sarri not even say, he's like, yeah, I don't want them because I don't even know where they're from.
Yeah, something like he said the flight could be so long that I want to avoid it, which makes
Yeah,
sense
no, I was
because
thinking that. I mean, for work reasons rather than pleasure reasons, I've ended up actually watching most of Sheriff's games this Champions League, and yeah, I feel like they would be a nightmare team for Lazio stylistically as well because they're exceptionally well organized, but they're actually very dangerous on the counter attack as well. So yeah, I feel the same as you. I thought it was interesting if Club Brugge had managed to finish third in their group, which I don't think they were too far off, we would have had our entire Champions League group from last season available again. I mean, we could get Zenit or Dortmund again. I mean, you'd probably take Zenit again at this
yes,
stage. I mean, I don't think there's no easy games there. I mean,
that's why we needed to win the group, right?
well, precisely. Um, And well, looking at the list, I honestly think Lazio would be underdogs in all those games, apart from probably Sheriff. But
Which is the
even
only one
then,
we don't want.
yeah, Leipzig, I guess, kind of depends on they're getting a new manager in, aren't they? So I guess kind of depends on how that goes. But I mean, Barcelona, they're in a state, and so I've seen a lot of people saying it's a great time because it'd be a big glamorous tie, but also you might actually be able to knock them out because of the state Barcelona are in. But it's always worth remembering at this point, because this happens every year once the group stage is over and you start talking about the draw. These games won't take place until the end of February, so there's quite a long 2.5 months to go until we actually have to think about this, and a lot can change in that time. January transfer window between now and then, any number of changes with coaching or form or whatever. So
Well, they just changed the manager and they don't have a lot of money, so I don't think they're gonna sign great players. But the thing I think Lazio should pick the best option would be Zenit and Barcelona. Zenit because I think of the lot after Sheriff is the weakest team, and Barcelona because I hope to be honest that Lazio player won't underestimate Barcelona. I hope so. I think I'm not saying we're gonna win, but at least we have a chance. And I think that Lazio will play his best. Plus, I hope that Lazio player will try to play at the best. Just if Milinkovic Savic wants to go, which is my impression I have, well, maybe he want to have a great performance against Barcelona. And if he play well, then we have a chance to win, or at least we're gonna go out in style. So I fear Borussia Dortmund because with Haaland, it can be really, really complicated. Lipskit, it's another good team that can, come back, as you was mentioning with the transfer market. So yeah, at the end of the day, I would pick one of those two teams. Things can change,
I
Maybe
mean,
Lazio pick up great run of form in February and we demolish any other team we find, or the other way around. Maybe you arrive at end of February with 7 players injured. We have to start with the Primavera players, and we can lose 8-0 against Sheriff. Who knows? But I want to see Barcelona Zenit. They are the best option we have at the moment for different reasons, but I think they are the best option for us.
yeah, and just to reiterate what we've missed out on, by having these two games, we're now going to have a run of matches with Bologna on the Sunday, then one of these matches, then Udinese, then one of these matches, and then Napoli at home. So at the end of that run, with those two European games in between, we're going to be taking on Napoli, when alternatively we could have had a week off in preparation. So it's a bit frustrating.
But they too have to play a match,
Yeah,
right? Because
there is that.
so
Yeah.
so this could have been an advantage. Obviously, Lazio didn't take it because we don't want to take advantage. And we have to see what happened in January. Now, Sari mentioned that we need some signing this winter. History tells us that Lazio hardly make any good signing in January. So I'm really curious to see if this time things changes. Um, we talked about Vavro. There are a lot of other players linked, Escalante, Lukaku, and so on. So maybe if we are able to sell those players, we'll have the money to sign other players. This would be really important. And we're gonna see. Fried chicken, we don't know because Sarri didn't make any official announcement about the goalkeeper. We imagine because he played the last two matches, right, Alistair? We were mentioning that Strakosha should be our number one now. Um, but
Find
who
out on
knows?
Sunday, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much we're gonna find out on Sunday. And again, on Sunday we're gonna find out if Luis Alberto will start, if he's fully fit. I think he will start, right? Because Milinkovic is out. And do you think Felipe Anderson will have another chance, Alistair?
Um, I don't know because I wouldn't drop Zakanya at the moment because it feels like
No.
he's really starting to get somewhere. So I think if you're bringing in Anderson, it's for Pedro, which
Yes.
I could potentially see happening because Pedro's had a couple of quieter games and he does need to be rotated as well. So possibly a kind of Zakanya, Anderson, Immobile front three. And yeah, but otherwise, yeah, like you say, I think it's fairly predictable with Alberto coming in for Milinkovic and Cataldi probably coming back in for Lucas. And
Even can I say that yesterday when Cataldi came in, he didn't improve things. He was too frenetic, too trying to do too many things and made a mess out of it. He made a lot of mistakes, and I can understand there was a sense of urgency, but you have to calm down and move the ball better. Otherwise, this simply helped Galatasaray getting the point. So I don't know. I was hoping to see a better performance from Lazio players, but anyway, uh, Sunday we have a chance to regroup. We need 3 points, obviously, even though we already mentioned that the Champions League is hard this year, but we still have the European uh, chance still on, and Sassuolo will be a very important test, right, Alistair?
yeah, difficult team. Lazio always struggle with them. They've been playing pretty well recently. I mean, well, they had to come back from 2-0 down to draw with Spezia last weekend, but before then they beat Milan. They came back from 2-0 down again to draw with Napoli. So they've been taking points off big teams, playing good football. Scamacca, Raspadori, Boga. They've got a lot of dangerous players. So yeah, it's a test. It's a big test. Like I said before, I think it's probably Lazio's hardest test before the winter break. So it would mean a lot to get a result from it.
And we're playing away. Let's not forget about that. That yes, we beat Sampdoria, but that was just the second win away in Serie A this season. So this makes it even harder for Lazio. Alistair, I think we can wrap it up here. I don't know if you have a stat this time or we're good to go.
I've got one just
Wow.
off the top of my head because I've actually written an article will be published today about the Strakosha Reina debate, and I found out in my research that Reina has made 31 saves this season and conceded 28 goals in Serie A. So he is averaging basically one save per two shots. No, that's not right. He's saving one out of every two shots, which is not good, by the way.
No.
He's quite far down the list of top saves.
That's why Strakosha came back. So, well, that was interesting. Again, thank you again, Alistair, for joining me. We'll be back after Lazio Sassuolo Lazio, unfortunately. Thanks everybody for joining us. Remember to follow us on YouTube, Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes, and Twitch. And if you want to support us, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. Membership starts at $2 a month. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, Alistair.
Cheers.